Welcome to Module 20 on operant conditioning. So what is operant conditioning? Operant conditioning is a type of learning in which behavior is strengthened if followed by a reinforcer or diminished if followed by a punisher. Actions followed by reinforcers increase, those followed by punishment decrease. Operant behavior is behavior that operates on the environment to produce rewarding or punishing stimuli. In contrast to classical conditioning, which involves respondent behavior, automatic responses to a stimulus. If we look at this flowchart on operant conditioning, the behavior operates on the environment to produce the rewarding or punishing stimuli. Organisms associate their own actions with the consequences, and the actions followed by reinforcement increase, those followed by punishments often decrease. An example of this is if we were to actually go to work and do the work, we would realize after we do the work we will get paid. Therefore, we will continue to do the work because we know we'll be receiving the consequence, which is in this case a reinforcer or reward, which is the money that we make by work. So B.F. Skinner was one of the most famous behaviorists in psychology. He is very influential and very controversial. A fun fact about B.F. Skinner is that he did not believe in free will. He believed that individuals were slaves to their environment and that modifying human behavior was the only real way we could actually impact learning. He expanded on Edward L. Thorndike's law of effect, which states that rewarded behavior tends to recur. He developed behavioral technology that revealed principles of behavior control, and he designed and used an operant chamber, popularly known as the Skinner box, for experiments that included a bar, which is a lever that an animal presses, or a key or a disc the animal pecks, to release a reward of food or water, and also a device that records these responses. Here's an example of a cat in a puzzle box illustrating Thorndike's law of effect. The cat will realize that if the cat wants out of the box and it can press on that particular lever, that the door will open. By shaping animals' natural behaviors, Skinner was able to teach these animals unnatural behaviors, such as teaching pigeons to walk in a figure eight, play ping pong, and keep a missile on course by pecking at a screen target. Reinforcement is any event that strengthens the behavior it follows. So inside this Skinner box, you see in the bottom right, the rat presses a bar for a food reward. Outside, a measuring device, which is not shown, records the animal's accumulated responses. The rat knows if it presses the bar, then food will come out. The process of making this association is called shaping, and that means gradually guiding the behavior toward closer and closer approximations of the desired behavior. With this method of successive approximations, responses that are ever closer to the final desired behavior are rewarded, and all other responses are ignored. There are two basic types of reinforcers, which are positive reinforcers and negative reinforcers. Positive reinforcement increases behaviors by presenting the positive reinforcer, and it's any stimulus that, when presented after a response, strengthens the response. Negative reinforcement increases behaviors by stopping or reducing negative stimuli, and a negative reinforcer is any stimulus that, when removed after a response, strengthens the response. Note, negative reinforcement is not punishment. So, for instance, if a class decides, the professor says, if everyone gets an A on this paper, you do not have to take the next exam. The next exam might be seen as something as negative and would also be taken away, and that would be negative reinforcement if everyone received an A on their paper. In this chart, we see ways to increase behavior through reinforcers. On the left, we have operant conditioning terms, such as positive reinforcement. In the middle, we have description, which is adding a desirable stimulus. And an example is you pet a dog that comes when you call it, you pay the person who paints your house. Negative reinforcement is the remove an aversive stimulus. And for instance, you would take painkillers to end pain, or fasten seatbelt to end loud beeping. Primary and conditioned reinforcers. A primary reinforcer is unlearned and innately reinforcing stimuli, such as those that satisfy biological needs. A conditioned or a secondary reinforcer is a stimulus that gains power through association with the primary reinforcer. There is also immediate and delayed reinforcers. Immediate occurs immediately after a behavior. So if the rat presses the lever, as we saw in the Skinner box, the next thing a food pellet is distributed, that is an immediate reinforcer. Delayed involves time delay between desired response of and delivery of reward, and this is similar to what we do when we get paid. We realize that we are doing work, but we will not get the money right away. We will get it at the end of the pay period.